Leo, if something inside your home feels like it's shifting, if the energy feels off, tense, or uncertain, you're not imagining things. This is a cosmic turning point. And today, you've been guided here for a reason. Let me just say this right away. This video is here to prepare you for an unexpected turn of fate in your home. And I don't just mean the walls and roof above your head. I'm talking about the core of your foundation, your emotional space, your sense of belonging, your sacred center. I'm not here to deliver sugar-coated inspiration or tell you everything will stay the same. I'm here to tell you the truth: something is about to shift. And that shift, though it may feel disruptive at first, could be the very thing that sets you free. For a while now, you might have felt a quiet discomfort where you live. Maybe it's tension with someone you share your space with. Maybe it's the feeling that your environment no longer reflects who you're becoming. Or maybe it's a deeper restlessness in your soul whispering, you've outgrown this version of home. If that resonates with you, then this is your moment. Stay with me. There's something powerful happening in your astrological chart right now. The sun, your ruling planet, is casting its light directly on the roots of your life, your fourth house. And whenever this area of the chart is activated, the universe isn't just nudging you. It's reconstructing you from the ground up. It's not destruction. It's divine renovation. And Leo, I know you. You're brave. You're loyal. You hold on longer than most because when you love, you give everything. But sometimes, what we're holding on to is already falling apart in our hands. Not because we've failed, but because it has already served its purpose. So ask yourself gently, is my home still nourishing me? Or is it simply familiar? Is this structure physical, emotional, relational still aligned with the version of me I'm becoming? You don't need to answer right now. But I do ask you to breathe into that question as we move through this message. Before we dive deeper, let me take a moment to thank you. Truly. Thank you for being here, for pressing play, for opening your heart. Every like, every comment, every new subscriber brings you closer into this community we're building together here at Eternal Mindfulness. Your presence is what makes this space sacred. And trust me, dear Leo, you'll want to stay until the very end of this video, because what the universe is about to reveal isn't just a prediction. It's a mirror. One that reflects exactly what you're ready to face, transform, and reclaim. So take a breath. Settle in. And if this already resonates with your journey, comment below and let me know. I'm ready to rebuild the home my soul deserves. Let's walk this through together. You're not alone. And something beautiful is on the other side of this shift. Let's begin. Imagine this with me for a second. You're standing in a house you've known for years. The walls are cracked in places, the floor creaks beneath your feet, and the roof leaks when it rains. But it's familiar. You know where everything is. You know the way the light hits the corner at 4 p.m., the exact sound the door makes when someone comes home. And even if it's falling apart, even if a part of you knows it's time to move on, you hold on. Because it's safe. Because the thought of tearing it down is scarier than the idea of patching it up one more time. But here's the truth. Some things aren't meant to be patched anymore. Some things need to break open so that something truer, stronger, more aligned can take their place. That's exactly what this moment is for you. The Tower card isn't about punishment or chaos, it's about deep, undeniable truth. It shows up when you've outgrown the space you're in. When the foundation can no longer hold the version of you that's emerging. The tower doesn't fall because you fail, it falls because you've expanded. And that expansion needs room to breathe. When the Knight of Swords rides into a reading, it brings clarity fast, sometimes so fast it feels like a storm. It could be a conversation, a decision, an unexpected shift in your living situation or relationships that makes your current reality no longer sustainable. And the Five of Pentacles, though painful, tells a story of spiritual refinement. Yes, there may be discomfort. Yes, you might feel like you're being pushed out into the cold. But what if that cold is the clean air you actually needed? What if what feels like being left behind is really being led somewhere better? Astrologically, we're seeing Uranus moving through your fourth house, the house of home, roots, and emotional security. That's why these changes feel so personal, so close to the heart. You're not just rearranging furniture. You're being called to reassess what home means to you, who and what belongs there, and more importantly who and what doesn't anymore. I want you to hear this, gently but clearly. This isn't the end of something safe, it's the beginning of something sacred. Every time you clean out a drawer, every time you finally get rid of that item that reminds you of a version of yourself you no longer are, you're sending a message. You're saying to the universe, I am not afraid of change anymore. You're saying, I trust that what's coming is better than what I'm holding on to. This is self-healing in motion. This is energetic alignment through action. Something as simple as opening your windows each morning and letting light in becomes a spiritual ritual when done with intention. It becomes your way of making space internally and externally for new energy to enter. And this is what change really is, an invitation to grow into more of who you really are. There's a verse I think about when these kinds of moments arrive. It says, you cannot pour new wine into old wineskins. You cannot live a renewed life in a space that was built for an older version of you. And sometimes, the letting go doesn't feel gentle. It can feel raw. Vulnerable. Like you're exposed. But that vulnerability is holy. It's the very place where transformation begins. So maybe you don't need to rebuild everything today. Maybe you just start with one drawer. One corner. One hard conversation. And in doing that, you declare to the universe, I am ready. Ready to let go. Ready to receive. Ready to become. Justice doesn't always arrive the way we expect. It doesn't always come in the form of grand resolutions or applause. Sometimes, it arrives quietly like a long overdue sigh of relief when you finally speak your truth, or the subtle shift in a relationship that once felt unbalanced, now finding its rhythm again. If you've been navigating through a cycle where it felt like no matter how much effort you gave, the returns just didn't match. This is the moment where that starts to change. The appearance of the Justice card is not about revenge or retribution, it's about realignment. It's about bringing things back into harmony, not only with others, but more importantly, with yourself. And when it shows up alongside the Two of Pentacles and the Three of Pentacles, it sends a clear message: balance is being restored, and your contributions, especially the ones that went unnoticed, are about to find their way back to you. What you've been juggling emotionally, financially, or even within your home, hasn't gone unseen. You've likely been the one keeping everything afloat, managing responsibilities, navigating difficult dynamics, or staying silent to keep the peace. But the truth is, peace without fairness isn't peace at all, it's avoidance. And the universe isn't asking you to avoid anymore. It's asking you to stand in your integrity, and in doing so, invite the world around you to rise to meet that energy. Astrologically, Saturn has been at work in your chart, helping you learn boundaries perhaps the hard way. This is the planet that teaches through time and structure. If you've had to set limits with family, walk away from obligations that drained you, or finally say no when you used to say yes out of guilt, then you've already been doing the sacred work of claiming justice on your own terms. But there's something you should know: balance doesn't require perfection. It requires presence. It requires honest awareness of what you've been holding too long, and the courage to either keep carrying it with love or put it down for good. And it begins in the most practical of ways. Track your spending not because you're irresponsible, but because every dollar is an extension of your energy. Pay attention to how your heart reacts when conflict arises. Do you brace for impact, or do you stay open and grounded? Even something as simple as noticing your breath in a tense conversation can shift the entire atmosphere. Take care of your body, especially your heart. The stress of unresolved tension can sit in your chest like a weight you've forgotten how to release. Stretch in the morning. Breathe deeply before sleep. Light a candle and just sit in silence with your own presence, even if it's only for 10 minutes. This isn't about spiritual performance, it's about making space to feel the recalibration happening within you. And maybe most importantly, remind yourself, you are safe in your own home. Not just the physical one, but the emotional home you carry inside. You deserve to feel respected. You deserve to be heard. You deserve to be met with the same energy you so generously give. If you need something simple to anchor this in, repeat this quietly to yourself tonight: I am safe in my own home. I am worthy of love and respect. Let it echo in your space. Let it become the new baseline for how you move, give, and receive. Justice is not coming. Justice is already unfolding. It starts with you. Love has a funny way of arriving, not always when we want it to, not always through the door we expect, but often in the quiet spaces where we least look. After everything you've been navigating, the shift in your sense of home, the energetic realignments, the moments of letting go, it makes sense if your heart feels cautious. Maybe even a little closed off. And yet, something is stirring. A softer energy is beginning to move again, like the first breeze after a long, heavy summer. It's gentle, but unmistakable. That's what the Ace of Cups speaks to: a fresh wave of emotion rising inside you. It might not even be fully visible yet, but you can feel it, can't you? The subtle warmth when you think of someone. The longing you thought had disappeared returning in a new form. This energy isn't asking you to dive in recklessly. It's simply knocking at your heart, reminding you it's still alive, still capable of feeling deeply. And then there's the Lovers. Contrary to popular belief, this card isn't only about romance, it's about choice. Conscious, soulful choice. Choosing connection over distance. Choosing openness over control. Choosing the version of yourself that says, I still believe in real love, even if it hasn't always looked the way I hoped. For some of you, this could mean the walls between you and your partner are softening. The tension that once divided you may now be giving way to mutual understanding. Maybe it's a simple conversation that shifts everything. Or a shared moment of vulnerability that reminds you why you chose each other in the first place. For others, especially those who've been walking this path alone, the Knight of Cups signals that someone is approaching, or rather, reapproaching. They may not have said much yet. Maybe they're watching from a distance. Maybe they've been unsure how to come forward. But the energy is building. And soon, they may just cross that invisible threshold between thought and action. Astrologically, Venus, the planet of love and value, is moving through a tender part of your chart. It's not just activating romantic connections. It's healing your inner home. The love that's coming, or returning, is tied deeply to your emotional safety. You're not just being asked to receive affection, you're being called to feel safe in it. In numerology, the numbers 6 and 9 are quietly powerful right now. 6 is the number of harmony, family, and sacred union. 9 is the number of endings that make space for meaningful rebirth. Together, they suggest this isn't a fleeting connection. This is a reconciliation of timelines within yourself, and possibly with another. But here's the thing, don't rush it. Don't force the story to unfold faster than your heart is ready for. Emotional healing isn't linear. Some days you'll feel open. Other days, guarded. That's okay. Just don't close the door entirely out of habit. You've done so much inner work. You've come this far. Don't let the fear of old wounds rob you of new beginnings. If you need something to anchor your healing, remember this: love isn't supposed to hurt more than it heals. And the love you deserve is the one that sees you, hears you, and holds space for the full range of who you are. Not because you have to ask for it, but because it's offered freely. And if this resonates with you, ask yourself this gently: who is the first person that comes to mind as you hear this? No need to explain. Just let their initials live in the comments as a quiet intention. A way of saying, I'm ready to open. Slowly. But fully. Because sometimes, peace doesn't come from solitude alone but from the courage to trust again. Sometimes, we think of home as just a place. A structure. 4 walls, a roof, a bed to sleep in, and perhaps some familiar smells in the kitchen. But for those of us who've been through enough seasons of change, we learn something deeper. Home isn't where we live, it's how we live inside ourselves. And right now, Leo, the universe is asking you to look at your current definition of home with fresh eyes. Not just the physical space, but the emotional landscape you return to each day. The rituals that ground you. The people who walk in and out of your doorway. And most importantly, the way you feel when you're alone, in silence, with your own energy. You might be in a period where the literal aspects of your home are shifting. Maybe you're considering a move. Maybe someone is moving in or out. Or maybe, you're suddenly looking around at your space and thinking, this doesn't feel like me anymore. And that's okay. That's growth. That's alignment calling your name. Sometimes, the outside needs to be rearranged to match the expansion that's already begun within. What if I told you that every room in your home carries energy mirroring specific parts of your inner world? The living room reflects how you connect with others. Is it open, inviting, or cluttered with old memories and expectations? Your bedroom, the place where you rest and recharge, speaks to the state of your emotional intimacy, how safe you feel to love, to heal, to let your guard down. And the kitchen? That's where nourishment happens physically and energetically. It's not just what you eat, but how you feed yourself emotionally. When you clean these spaces, you're not just tidying, you're shifting energy. That's why decluttering feels so freeing. It's symbolic. You're releasing what no longer serves. It's not about perfection. It's about intention. Each drawer you organize, each item you let go of is a quiet affirmation to the universe. I'm ready to make space for what supports me now. If your body has been feeling sluggish or heavy lately, you're not alone. The emotional weight of change often settles into the physical. It might look like interrupted sleep, tension in your shoulders, or emotional eating to soothe the discomfort of uncertainty. This is a good time to return to gentle habits, warm, nourishing meals instead of cold, processed ones. 10 minutes of stretching in the morning. Less screen time at night. Simple, steady choices that remind your nervous system, I am safe. I am grounded. Now, let's talk about the deeper message in numbers. In numerology, the number 4 is the foundation structure, security, the house itself. And the number 8? That's abundance. Power. Lasting success. When these numbers start dancing together in your energy field, it means the universe is inviting you to rebuild not just for stability, but for sustainability. The goal isn't just to survive anymore. It's to thrive. Not temporarily but with roots. And if you've been seeing repeating numbers like 1111 or 444, take it seriously. These aren't coincidences. These are energetic pings from the universe saying, you're aligning. Keep going. Don't give up now. This chapter in your life isn't just about switching locations or redecorating a room. It's about becoming the version of you who feels at home no matter where you are. And if your current space, people, or habits no longer support that version, then yes, it's time to lovingly let them go. Because your real home, Leo, has always been your light. Your warmth. Your courage to keep loving, even when the ground shifts beneath you. So maybe, just maybe, this change you're sensing isn't something to fear but something that's been waiting to bring you back to yourself all along. After all the emotional work you've done, after the shifts in your home, your relationships, your sense of security, this is where it all begins to make sense. Not in a sudden flash, but in a quiet realization, you are not where you started. You are no longer surviving something. You are stepping into something. And the energy that surrounds you right now, Leo, is not just about closure. It's about rebirth. When the magician shows up, it's the universe handing you the keys and saying, you have everything you need. Not someday. Not when you're more healed. Not when things are more perfect. Now. You've walked through enough fire to understand that power doesn't come from controlling every detail, it comes from knowing how to alchemize what life gives you. The tools are in your hands, and more importantly, in your energy. And then comes the sun. There's something deeply healing about this card, especially for a Leo. It's not just light, it's clarity. It's truth without fear. It's the kind of knowing that burns through confusion and says, this is who I am, and this is where I'm going. After all the uncertainty and reconfiguration, this is your solar return, not just astrologically, but emotionally. You're being reset. Not because you lost yourself, but because you've outgrown the version of you who doubted what's possible. When the world appears next to these cards, it's a sign that a major cycle has ended, not just in the calendar sense, but in your soul's journey. You've closed the loop. You've faced the lesson. Now it's time to graduate, to expand into what's next. And that next chapter? It isn't waiting for you out there. It's already unfolding through every decision you make right now. So what does this mean in practical terms? It means your energy is ripe for movement, conscious, directed, abundant movement. Whether it's launching a business, changing your career path, or finally giving yourself permission to pursue something that's been quietly burning in the background, this is your green light. The astrology agrees. You're entering a season that reactivates your sense of purpose, your leadership, and your natural magnetism. But none of that matters if you don't believe you're ready. This is where mindset becomes magic. And this is where the law of attraction meets real life. Your frequency is the invitation. The more clearly you hold your truth, the more confidently you move with it, the more the universe echoes it back. That's why this moment is not just symbolic, it's strategic. Try this, each morning, before your phone, before the noise of the world reaches you, repeat 3 simple affirmations. I am safe in change. Everything that shifts brings me closer to where I'm meant to be. I create my reality. Write them down if you have to. Whisper them to yourself. Let them seep into your nervous system until they feel like truth, because they are. If you feel called to do something physical to anchor this shift, create a small space in your home that belongs only to your clarity. A corner for stillness. A table for journaling. Add a citron or sunstone of crystals that amplify warmth, wealth, and direction. Keep your space clean, light-filled, and full of scent that uplifts you. Energetically, wealth prefers to arrive where it feels welcome, not where it has to fight through chaos to land. This isn't just about manifestation. It's about responsibility. The sun doesn't ask for permission to shine, it simply shows up. And Leo, neither should you. This is your season to stop asking if it's time and start acting like you already know the answer. Because somewhere deep down, you do. You always have. Leo, if you've made it here to the very end, take a moment to breathe that in, because that alone says so much. It says you're not just curious. You're committed. You're not just waiting for change, you're walking with it, side by side. And even if you don't have all the answers right now, you're showing up. That's more than most. And that's where transformation always begins. What we explored today wasn't just about physical movement or outward success. It was about inner realignment. A return to your center. A reawakening of the voice that says, I know who I am, and I trust where I'm being led. You didn't lose yourself in the chaos, you were being reshaped, refined, rerouted toward a version of life that matches your worth. And while the external world may still be catching up to your inner work, don't underestimate what's already changed within you. Because everything outside of you responds to that. Let's be real, healing doesn't always feel pretty. Some days you're ready to rebuild, and other days it takes everything just to keep breathing. That's okay. That's human. What matters is that you don't numb yourself to the truth you already know. The truth that you are worthy of peace. Of a home that feels like safety. Of a life that reflects what your soul has been calling in for years. And all of that doesn't begin, someday. It begins when you decide it's time. And maybe, that time is right now. So here's my question for you, and I want you to answer honestly from your heart, not from your head. What does it mean for you to feel at home? Is it a place? A person? A version of yourself you haven't been in a while? And more importantly, what small step can you take this week to come closer to that feeling? Because nothing we talked about today works unless you do something with it. Maybe you start by clearing one drawer. Maybe you finally have that honest conversation you've been avoiding. Maybe you give yourself permission to feel joy without guilt. It doesn't have to be loud. It just has to be real. And if this message stirred something in you, if it reached a part of you you didn't even realize needed to be seen, drop a comment below and write, "I'm ready to rebuild the home within." Say it for yourself. Say it out loud. Say it as a declaration. And of course, if this video spoke to you, like, subscribe, and tap that little bell so that every time you need a reminder of who you are and where you're going, you know you're never alone in this. You are part of something. A family. A frequency. Right here at Eternal Mindfulness. From my heart to yours, thank you for letting me walk beside your soul today. Thank you for allowing these words to touch the corners of your life that maybe haven't felt touched in a while. You're not lost. You're being redirected. And soon, Leo, sooner than you think, everything will fall into place, just the way it was always meant to. Keep shining. Your light was never meant to dim inside someone else's definition of home. It was meant to lead you back to your own.